All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into our next match here at the Microsoft Store. On the blue side, on the left, you're going to have Slapchop, and on the right, on the red side, it's going to be Sirens. So we're going to go ahead and get it immediately. I do see a Fiddlesticks band coming out on the side, as well as Katarina. Katarina got a little bit reworked here during the Assassin update during the preseason, so it's a little bit more mobile. So you always got to be careful when that is picked into you. And I believe the Crying Pan actually does not like playing against that champion at all, so it is going to be off the table. Meanwhile, Ari going to get banned out by Savage on the crew, as Peanut does have the final ban here for Slapchop. Just to reintroduce myself, I'm Alexander OPL Archambault, and joining me here on the cast for this game, at least on color, is going to be Derek. You actually should do it yourself, because I don't know your full information.
Honestly, it's not that big a deal. Just call me Derek. We're all here part of community gaming. Let's just jump right back into the pick and ban phase. You do kind of see that there is a focus in the mid lane, and I think that's kind of been the trend today. That mid lane has always kind of taken over a game for any of the teams here.
Yeah, I do immediately see that LeBlanc being banned away on the side of Sirens. Maybe did see Crying Pan on the champion early, where is able to, again, keep up the pressure in that bot lane especially, and I think was around 7-2 at some point, was absolutely carrying the team. They are going to go ahead and lock in that Caitlyn. It was a very steady pick there for Trick Shots, and actually is one of his better champions, if I recall. Again, I know a couple of these guys, and I believe his Caitlyn is in his top 3 ADCs at the moment. Actually used to have a ridiculous KDA on the champion in ranked. I think he went 5 games and had 47 KDA on the champion, so is absolutely a monster if he's able to get rolling with it. At the moment, looking to get the final picks, first picks here coming on the side of Sirens.
So I guess we'll see what Sirens' answer is to that Caitlyn. Being able to shut her down early game is going to be the key to keeping her in control throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, especially with the build path that we did see last game. I believe it was a Bork Rush still coming out from Trick Shots, even though the Infinity Edge did get buffed a little during the recent mid-season patch that we are now playing on. Again, 5 seconds on the clock here to get the last pick and ban. Nass is going to go ahead and get locked in, as well as the Amumu, bringing in some of the Shurima flavor. Amumu did get a nice little buff recently, does apply extra true damage from his ult from other sources. That's actually a big factor now into his kit. Allows for some really awesome team fights. Meanwhile, Nass is up in that top lane, gonna have time to scale on up, get those stacks down.
Yeah, and when that Nasus gets that stack going, he can be absolutely unstoppable. Just rolling down the lane and just be a force to be reckoned with.
Right now, I do see this Nautilus hover right now. Syndra would be another great champion for Crying Pan, has done very well, and the champ actually does consider it a little bit broken. Nautilus is going to go ahead and get locked in immediately here. I believe it's going to go back up in that top lane for Peanut. Big Tot was able to, again, answer with some TP teleports when it came to those big team fights. Was able to get that ult down. Syndra going to go ahead and get locked in. Syndra's kind of been the flavor here for the last couple patches, especially in mid lane, just because of the amount of base damage in the kit. Just with 1 or 2 items can absolutely destroy any ADC and usually any mid laner she's put up against.
The OPR button?
Yeah, the OP alt button. It's the You Die Now button. It's usually quite effective. Usually works about 90% of the time, unless the enemy team has some shields or anything. You might see an Orianna pick get put into it because it does have that shield available to her. I'm really not too sure if I like that Thresh pick up right away. Again, you could show your mid lane at this point to see what you're going up against, because it is likely going to be that Syndra, unless they're playing some wacky meta that I haven't seen them practice here in the last couple months. So as we're going to see, 10 seconds on the clock. Thresh does allow for that utility, allows for some hooks, as well as a nice escape tool for that Amumu, as Cassiopeia are going to be locked in here in response to that Syndra.
A lot of times here, maybe some of these teams are looking more for their comfort picks rather than trying to play the meta. A lot of times with the skills we have here, while it's not the highest, because we're not the highest, we're trying to play into our comfortable picks. So we feel, I guess, comfortable to execute all those maneuvers on the map.
Again, we see this Graves and Elise hover coming out for likely overlords in that jungle. His Elise is actually a really good one, if I recall. Does apply a lot of early game pressure. It's going to get locked in immediately with that Morgana. So now some safety coming out for that Caitlyn and that Syndra that is a little immobile. Urgot is now the hover. I'm not too sure if it'll get locked in. I don't know where it could go. It is an ADC pick.
Zaya, the new champ coming into play.
I like Zaya. I find though it is a very you either do a lot on the champion or you kind of just die a lot. It's a very kind of back and forth, similar to Vayne especially.
One of those feast or famine champions.
Yeah, that's the exact term. Actually, I know a playtester over at Riot, and when she was being playtested, back when lethality was so popular, she was actually absolutely busted, was what he said. The same kit still existed about 2 months back, and the lethality just really synergized well with her. Unfortunately, the meta kind of fell out of that. You're now seeing more of that crit style with the buffs coming out during this midseason patch. Vayne, though, is going to get locked in, especially going into a Caitlyn pick. This might hurt a little bit, but again, it might be that comfort pick you were mentioning.
Exactly. It is going to struggling in the laning phase. The poke and the spams is not going to quite be there for the Vayne, but now you're looking into the late game potential. Vayne is probably one of the best duelists, super late game.
Yeah, and that's kind of their whole comp right now on the team of Sirens. They have that Nasus top lane and a Vayne ADC. You are really looking for that late game. Cassiopeia, she used to be this insane late game champ. She kind of more now scales in the mid to late game, not as late, more earlier I find, especially with that mid game power spike when she gets 1 or 2 items, gets that miasma down, makes it so you can't flash out, you can't hook out. It's actually a really nice tool, especially going against a Syndra that's going to be very immobile if she does get caught out.
Sirens is definitely going to look to try to slow down the momentum for Slapchop early game. Looking at Slapchop, you got the Morgana stun, you got the Syndra stun, you got the Elise cocoon, you got the pull from Nautilus and his ult, and Caitlyn even has a pretty good slow from here, like for when needed.
Yeah, you do have those traps available to them, and that's kind of going to be a big factor here, is if Caitlyn can get ahead into this lane very early on. And that's something Thresh has to be kind of be cautious about, because if he tries to go very aggressive, he's just going to get snared up by a Morgana. And especially in the early, like level 1 especially, you can get chunked out so hard by a Morgana and Caitlyn that you have to really be playing passive here until they hit that level 6 mark, when Vayne can actually start dueling Caitlyn with that ultimate. When it does come to that late game, it's kind of the tale of two stories, though. Vayne, she can shred through tanks, but Caitlyn, she can burst you down with just one auto, and from his build last game, he did build that rapid fire cannon as well as Infinity Edge. Just the sheer amount of damage on that headshot passive was able to, again, chunk out carries.
Yes, definitely a lot of damage coming out. The Vayne is a good pick against a very tanky Nautilus, so that's one thing they have going for them in terms of the ADC role, shredding that front line, letting Cassiopeia and maybe Nasus get to the back line and distract.
Yeah, if Nasus can get into that back line, it's going to be actually absolutely devastating if he can get on top of this Syndra. It is unlikely, because Syndra does have that self-peel built into the kit, so it's not as aggressive, as well as a Morgana who can, again, spell shield any carries that might be near the Nasus, prevent that slow from coming out. It's going to be really dependent on whether or not he can get that wither down onto the target he wants, as long as Morgana isn't there. Amumu, especially as well in this early game, is going to have to look to make impacts very much in the bot lane exclusively, because he's going to have a little bit of a tough time ganking the Syndra unless he can get a nice ganking group behind the lane on beside the river in that bottom side, where he can go ahead and bandage toss over the wall and get on top of Syndra and synergize that with a Cassiopeia ult. They might have a chance of trying to burst down the Syndra before she can either flash or knock you away.
Exactly. So a lot of it will have to depend on the teamwork and the communication to Cassio to set up the lane for Amumu. Maybe set some early trinkets or wards down to find that path for a Mumu to get around her.
Yeah, well, we are going to get out of our spectator delay quite shortly here as we're going to go ahead and load on into the Rift. Make sure to leave your guys' thoughts on who you guys going to think if Slapchop can continue their little win streak, now go up 2 games, or if Sirens can bounce on back. I forget if they won our first game. I think they did. Off the top of my head, I can't remember immediately.
Sirens did win the first game.
All right, so this is kind of your battle right now for first and second, because whatever team wins this one will go up 2-0, and the little round robin we have set up. After this one, guys, we will be taking a short little break, but it is not time for that just right now, as we're going to go ahead and load on into the Rift as we go ahead and just fix our little bit of our displays. Really annoying that scoreboard does not actually come up on for the first
default.
As default, yeah, you would think you want to see this scoreboard, but here we go as we load on into the Rift, and nothing too out of the ordinary right now. We do see a little bit of a cluster coming out from Sirens, but mainly looking to defend that blue buff away from any possible invades. Crying Pan and Overlord now coming on in, but they're looking just to set up a nice defensive perimeter on this river.
What do you think about the summoner spell pickup from the supports, the exhaust versus the ignite?
Right now, you have to take an exhaust into a Vayne or a Cassiopeia. It's kind of needed no matter what. It allows the Thresh, if he's able to land a hook, to really commit to an all-in with that ignite, so they do have kind of more aggressive summoners. But when it comes into that late game, there is absolutely no exhaust on the side of Team Siren, and that allows Slapchopachino's, again, Syndra or Caitlyn to really go off in fights, because that's the big thing about Syndra. If you can exhaust her before she ults, she usually can't one-shot whoever she's targeting. Without that exhaust, they might have some trouble.
Well, we'll see how they take these summoner spells and use them throughout the game here.
As we are waiting here at the moment. Looks like a nice simple start coming out here from the side of Slapchop. They're going to go ahead and start down in that red side jungle here at a minute 30. Both junglers going to start on their bot side right now. You're not going to see any wacky Raptor starts. That's one thing Amumu does have the ability to do, is really cheese Raptors if he wanted to, because he does take a bit of reduced damage from the camp, so he can really, again, almost solo it in some scenarios. But meanwhile, up in top lane, not going to see a little bit of training here. It's Gnosis versus Nautilus, so nothing too out of the ordinary going to pop up here. Azuki actually able to land that snare onto Thresh. No follow-up, though, coming up from Caitlyn. Did level that over piece maker, so looking to, again, be very aggressive lane, push it in, try and get that level 2. This Vayne is going to have a little bit of a tough time up in that bot lane. Peanut able to land level 2 before the Nautilus. He is slow pushing the wave, though Nautilus does kind of like the farm underneath tower, has that Q available to really keep the stacks going, and as we can see, Cassiopeia kind of has a little bit of advantage here just with the sustained damage against this Syndra. Syndra has to be a little bit careful. He is juking around those quite fine.
There are those traps you were talking about earlier, so...
Yeah, trick shots have to be a little bit careful. Again, Thresh gets chunked out immediately there, and that is just the amount of damage actually lands that snare. And very nice combo with the Piltover, able to do quite nicely. Crying Pan not able to connect on the stun there in mid lane. But overall, the lanes of Slapchop are kind of showing a little bit of promise here, as Nasus is kind of forced to use this Sandstorm to keep the wave from pushing into the tower really early and hurting his stacking.
Yeah, the Nautilus E, keeping the waves, like you said, slow pushing into the tower.
Yeah, able to. Crying Pan, though, is going to have the help of Elise. The very unfortunate push coming out there from Crying Pan. Just a little bit of some communication. Actually a wasted ignite, though Savage was forced to burn the flash. Did not burn that Ghost as well. Trick shots getting a lot of damage here right now. Alpha is going to actually connect the hook onto a minion, as the minion gave up his life for his carries.
So there's the trade of Summoner Spell at the mid lane. Flash for a ignite. We'll look to see if the Elise wants to come back before that flash cooldowns come off and make a play happen there.
And likely will. The Cassiopeia right now has been playing quite aggressive, so we should be seeing the Elise come back up to really help. The only concerning thing right now is that Nasus is able to freeze in front of his tower because he does have that passive lifesteal built into it. He can tank it up a little bit. Elise going to go ahead and clear out that Scuttle, and Scuttle's always a nice thing to have. Keeps Mumu in check because really all he has right now is the gank path with that explosive cone. By his own lanes, and usually you see junglers try and clear that one early so that their lane can be safe for about 4 to 5 minutes. But at least he's not going to go ahead and clear that one out. And you can see Mumu already making his way down there, was able to use that. Thresh is going to go ahead and flash, but they're not able to connect right there as the hook did come out, but it's just not enough as the spell shield kept him alive. The counter gank now coming in for Elise at the moment, looking to maybe pick up the kill here onto Thresh. The flash is not available. First blood goes over to Overlord on the Elise, and it will be likely a clean escape coming out for the rest of the team.
So a really clean rotation coming out here from Slap in response to the Mumu jungling path.
Yeah, and that's what we mentioned, was that explosive cone allowed him to get into the lane, but unfortunately Trick Shots actually took a very unique flash approach. Meanwhile, in that mid lane, huge amount of damage coming out from Crying Pan on that Syndra, looking to maybe burst down that Cassiopeia on the next rotation of spells if he does get that level 6 available for him. So just take a quick look. Just a little bit behind there as Nautilus up in that top lane, trading very well, keeping the Nasus in check. I really do want to see what Nasus stacks are right now, as we're just taking a look. 66 stacks in 5 minutes, doing a decent speed right now as he's, again, not being fully pushed underneath tower, and that's what's kind of keeping him in this game, in this matchup right now.
So looking at all the lanes individually, actually, they're all pretty even, with the exception, like we mentioned, the laning phase of the Vayne.
Unfortunately, they're not able to get the Condemned to really stick onto that close wall. Crying Pan misses that stun right there. Really needs to land those if he wants to avoid getting any bad trades into his favor. Trick Shots, this is a big discrepancy though for this bot lane, is Trick Shot is up almost already double the CS of this Vayne, and that is that's a little bit of a concern right there. You don't want Caitlyn getting too out of control in comparison to the Vayne. Actually, Vayne went ahead and bought a call, so it's a very passive laning phase going to be coming out for this Vayne. Into trade right here. Trick Shot not able to land that quite right away. Has to be a little bit careful. Doesn't have any summoners there.
Takes the lantern, gets out into safety. Now we'll see if Trick Shot is going to go for the back here soon, because if she doesn't, maybe Mumu will try to take advantage of that low HP and see if they can do a quick tower dive.
Trick Shots doesn't have the mana available for him right now. Actually, Crying Pan, my problem right there, as Crying Pan is going to flash out there on the last possible Fang coming out from Cassiopeia. Misjudged, maybe thought he had just a little bit more mana to use that ultimate, but has to burn a summoner. But look, he's staying around. He kind of wants to play aggressive here right now, or Savage doesn't have that much mana to work with either. Savage, though, going to go ahead back underneath the turret.
Exactly, and the Cassio did blow her ulti. So knowing that, Syndra knows the Cassio has no real way of turning around quickly, so she does stay for a little bit longer, farm up the lane a little bit, and now decides to back.
Yeah, and it's going to be a big difference in damage at the moment, as she does go back with about 1,100 gold, so likely a Blasting Wand or a Lost Chapter as she's picked up, so that'll allow her to do a little bit more damage, keep up her mana when she does level up. Meanwhile, Cassiopeia has to go more of that farm route, does to level up that tier to really become effective. We'll have to see how well that goes out for him. As in that bot lane again, pressure is mounting on this Vayne as Trick Shots has finished off this BF sword, so we are coming into about that 8-minute, 9-minute mark where if you have ADCs and that support able to pick up a kill or at least get a big farm advantage, you might actually see them roam up toward that Rift Herald support in a Rift Herald fight if it does break out, because it is a pretty big objective going to slowly come up. Crying Pan, though, in this mid lane is going to likely get not hooked there by that, is not going to tick out to the poison, and again is just escaping with his life, not able to fully commit to anything, but Elise is coming here for the support, is actually going to find a Mumu now in that jungle. Pings are coming out there at the moment as Overlords finds the sad mummy.
Now, I'm not sure if it's nerves or anything, but the Amumu was twice now, just threw out the hook slightly early.
Yeah, just slightly early. Again, try and you got to pick off a Syndra immediately. Maybe there wasn't any indication. Actually, Savage going to flash on in, is going to pick up the kill onto the Syndra. So that's the first kill going over into that mid lane. Savage now up a little bit in that lead. Metal not able to pick up that snare. And Vayne, if she did get landed there, was likely to go down. Overlord showing himself up in this top lane. Here's a ward though, so they do know he is around. Mumu sticking around by that Krugs at the moment. Trick shots, applying pressure underneath this tower is actually going to ult onto this Thresh or the Vayne. They actually are both just standing underneath the tower, barely any health. They have to be very careful because trick shots could easily, again, flash in net and get another auto off and actually finish them off. So they got to be a little bit careful. Likely they're still not backing right now and they have no jungle support to help them.
This is going to be a problem. So now they're trying really hard to hold on to that bottom lane turret. But with that little bit of HP, it can't really contest the wave even though it's under their own turret.
Yeah, just under their own turret, and look at that turret, it is down just to a sliver. So they have to be a little bit careful here.
Well, now they're definitely going to concede the first turret gold over to Slapchop.
Yeah, but Anti out in this top lane trying to make something happen. Nasus pops up this ultimate, this is kind of saving grace for their team. Actually, Anti takes the kill. Unfortunately not able to give over the stacks to the Nautilus, but he will pick up some assist gold.
Red team's turret has
At
been
this point, the Sirens team are definitely looking to get advantage anywhere else they can on the map, knowing the bot lane is going to be a losing lane.
Yeah, that is a big one for him. Nasus, though, needs to scale up. That's a big thing for him, as they might try and abuse this mid laner and Crying Pan on the Syndra with no flash up for about another minute here. So looking to see what they can maybe do. 11 minutes on the clock. Crying Pan looking to clear out the wave. Puffles also out here to try and support him. Metal also showing, so a lot of pressure, and you can see Caitlyn's actually rotated into this mid lane. They might want to try and force down this tower and then rotate to a Rift Herald take with the jungler nearby, and you can see them. Actually, the Cassiopeia ult did go out. It did miss, though. There's finally a rotation coming out from the rest of the team, but it's still a 4v3 at the moment. Amumu maybe looking to go ahead and come in from a flank, but there is no Cassiopeia ult to follow up, and that's a big chunk of damage that they kind of need to have. Amumu from the side right now. There is a play comes out onto that Cinder. That tower is going down so low. They got to keep up. One more push with the minions would likely take it.
At this point, Sirens really just need to try to not give up too much map controls in terms of losing turrets, giving away vision, because you can see right now at the river there is flooded with blue wards.
Yeah, a lot of wards coming out for them at the moment, and they're likely going to take this tower with the next push here, as the hook lands onto a minion. That is now 2 towers in the favor of Slapchop, as Savage is going to go ahead and lantern out right there. Vayne is kind of slow pushing this bot wave and really isn't gaining a whole lot from it, because Caitlyn stayed so long right now, and you can see Slapchop and them make a roam up to this top lane, is going to find that Nasus right there, gets the knock up onto them, as well as the ultimate's coming on out. That's a dead dog there, as Crying Pan picks up the kill.
I think that was 3 ultis coming out for 1 Nasus kill, but it did secure the kill. A relatively decent, healthy minion wave crashing into the turret, and now they're going to be picking up their 3rd tower.
Well, in that bot side, they are going to trade this for a dragon. But really, it wouldn't surprise me if they keep up this push and maybe go for possibly a Rift Herald attempt here, as there's really no one to answer. Cassiopeia is just keeping the push here, and there might be a little bit of a base race coming out here. This is not one that Sirens would actually win, because they don't really have any minions to follow up here, as Elise has all these Spiderlings to keep the turret from attacking their champions. And look at that tower just getting torn apart there. Minions are starting to push onto here. Again, this little bit of a base race. Thresh is not going to land there with the hook. Gets a minion, and that's now 2 towers going down up in this top lane. They get the catch onto the Nautilus here, or the Nasus. He is going to get Lantern away, And now you can see a rotation possibly coming out from Slapchop, and they're actually looking to get this mid tower, so a little bit more better communication coming out here for that team. And oh, Thresh getting taken down very low. Ultimate is going to come on out. It just threads the kneel around Cassiopeia. Thresh goes down to about 100 health, so has to go ahead and back. You can see this pressure coming out from Slapchop, just the sieging potential. All 5 members in that mid lane. Crying Pan lands the stun onto 2 members. They're likely now going to go ahead and take their 5th tower of the game. Well, Mumu trying to make something happen, gets into the back line. That's a huge ultimate coming out as the combos come out, and here comes Vayne from the top side right now. 2 members of Slapchop go on down. Overlord might be taken out as well. Keeps Anti from keeping on top of him right now. Oh, here comes Savage, though. Savage picks up the kill with the help of this Vayne. This Vayne just got 2 big kills. This is absolutely necessary for to keep on going. A lot of damage coming from Crying Pan. He's likely going to take that Blasting Cone over the side and escape. But unfortunately, Slapchop overstaying their welcome in the mid lane.
And so that's a 2-for-nothing trade. I really like seeing that coming out from the Sirens. The decisive call. Mumu hooks, goes in ulting, and everybody dives in right behind them. Everything combos on top. And even though they're at a slight disadvantage, they still get to a 2-for-nothing trade.
Now in that mid lane, Syndra just going to go ahead and clear this one out. Just taking a rundown, looking at the gold totals at the moment. It is just a 1k gold lead on the side of Slapchop. They are at the disadvantage in kills and the Drake, but they do have that tower advantage and might be. They're still not looking at this Rift Herald, which is shocking because they have so much top pressure that they can get a big wave built up. They could really run down this final inhib tower and get an inhib for themselves if they wanted to. But looking to just play a more safer lane.
So that 1,000 gold difference really is just a turret difference. Just some standing gold for Sirens to get maybe a little bit later into the game. That time Slapchop spent in mid lane and top lane actually gave Vayne a lot of time for free farming, and now have actually caught up in CS.
So I do see a couple pings going over to this Rift Herald at the moment. Overlord is still a little bit behind. You can see the Vayne already starting to recall, and they are already looking to start off this Rift Herald right now. It is a big objective if you can take it right now. In the meta, it is huge, especially going for that top lane turret, or even that mid lane if they really wanted to. And it looks like it's going to go uncontested in the end, so going to go over to Slapchop. They pick up yet another Rift Herald, maybe trying to look at a better time to use it, unlike the first game they did.
And that goes with that lack of vision we were talking about. The early sieging and pressure coming out from Slapchop gives them the ward and vision control and takes an objective without being contested.
Now push in this mid lane coming out. Trick Shots does have the Rift Herald on him. He's actually going to go ahead and summon it in this mid lane. I like the idea trying to run this down, and you're going to see a big chunk of damage going on to the side here, but a Mumu from the side, they don't know where he is. He misses the hook coming out right now, and he's on top of this Nautilus, and it's not who you want. Trick Shots is trying to get out of there. He does get rooted, but there is no follow-up coming out right now. Huge amount of damage going down onto the Vayne. Big stun comes out on this Cassiopeia, able to keep up the damage from the side right now. 3 members of Sirens so low. Trick Shot able to try and finish it off. He will not be able to. That is 4 kills going over to Siren right now. The exchange of the Vayne is going to land the hook there, and it's going to be the ace in the end. Actually able to pick up the kill onto Thresh. It's a 5 for 2 though, and unfortunately Slapchop just overstaying their welcome, not respecting the team fight.
Exactly, and even though they have been getting the momentum throughout the game, they're not respecting their opponents. And in the massive ultis coming out from a Mumu, a 3-man ulti, followed by Cassiopeia's constant DPS.
Now trying to see, again, maybe reset their map a little bit here, because they kind of have to take a respect here, as Morgana at the moment looking to just keep this wave. Trick Shot's going to go ahead and finish that off. Just taking a look right now, 297 stacks coming out for this Nasus right now. It's looking to start getting a little bit big, just a little bit behind of where you want to be on Nasus. Luckily, you ideally look for that 400 stacks in 20 minutes. Has been involved a little bit more in those team fights though, and able to pick up 2 kills, so that kind of keeps him in that gold range that he needs to be at. Gold is still dead even here. Even though the scoreline is 4-10, but if you're on the side of Siren right now, you are feeling very comfortable.
Absolutely. Like we mentioned earlier, the standing gold is still on the map for them. That's money they can get ahead with. And that, like you said, Nasus Q is getting very nasty.
To get that Scuttle Crab, they are looking to maybe take this Water Drake at the moment. Have the Scuttle. Peanut does have that TP up in top lane, but look at this. There are so many members right now on the side here of Siren up in that jungle, but there's pings coming out to maybe push this bot wave. Baron coming up here in 30 seconds.
And we'll see if Sirens could get some vision around that Baron killer. Because right now, a lot of these objectives are getting uncontested due to the lack of vision, due to the lack of ability to push out on the map, really contest, just getting knowledge on the map and making sure they're in position to be able to contest or take objectives.
Now push coming out just slightly there at the moment as Crying Pan and Trickshot's going to go ahead and back. Pink Ward is on top of this Baron right now. You do see a little bit of a rotation coming out from Sirens, as a lot of them, there is some pings coming out right now, and they might be looking at trying to force down this Baron. Again, 20 minutes, that's a very early Drake to try and take, especially without that fork on Vayne being just completed just yet. Again, Vayne does shred through the Baron pretty well, but it's just a little bit early to really be starting to think that. But it is that static crit build coming up for Vayne, so that is a ton of damage on the side of Siren starting to ramp up. You can see it right now. Actually, pings are going on. Slapchop, they are looking at trying to start this Baron at the moment. 9,000 on the health bar. Here we go. Amumu is on the side of the pit right now. They are looking to back out. They did see that ward there. Crying Pan in this mid lane misses that stun. That's a big one. Flashes over. 2 hooks missed there, but he's in the middle of trouble at the moment. A big amount of damage coming on here. Hook comes on out. There's a big ult coming in as well. 4 members of Slapchop now running away from this Baron here. They have to be a little bit careful. Overlord's just going to step out of range of that hook. Actually gets hooked there in the air by that blasting cone. He has nowhere to go. Actually goes behind the team trying to get his way out of here. Maybe trying to stall them out just a little bit. But the poison lands and Nal is going to pick up the kill. And they are looking to try and get at this possibly a Baron attack.
With the jungler down, it's not a 50-50 trade. So if they can burn this Baron down quick enough, like we said with Vayne, very likely this Baron will be theirs uncontested.
So Slapchop, what looked like an early advantage with towers, has just not been able to capitalize, taking bad fights where they really shouldn't be at the moment. 22 minutes in and Peanut's overextended, looking to just Spider-Man out there with the wall hook. And should be fine, but now a lot of Baron minions going to hit onto his tower, and that's going to go down very fast to this, again, 330 stack Nasus that he's going up against, and he really just has to run away at this point. Crying Pan is coming here for the support, gets the stun onto the Nasus right now. Nasus, though, actually, his Q damage actually goes through the Banshee's Veil. I don't know if that's an intentional interaction right there, but it's going to get shut down immediately there by Overlords. Maybe just not respecting that Sheen and Q damage. Maybe expected it to get blocked by the Banshees, but it did not. So Syndra just going to go down there to Nasus in the end.
Did Nasus E proc his shield just before the Q landed?
I don't think so, because it went through, he got 2 Qs off there onto Syndra, so I'm not too sure. Maybe that's the intended interaction. It's just an auto attack, it isn't really a spell. So that might be it, but actually hook lands on through onto Morgana. Does have that spell shield to prevent the play from doing anything else. So right now, Sirens at the moment get a nice little comfortable lead. All comes out from Caitlyn. It's going to be blocked there by Savage as he's able to run away. Savage actually sidesteps the Cocoon very nicely there. Did have a nice ward warning him about that one, and they're going to look at escaping here.
And I really like actually this Thresh pick for this team specifically in the way he's playing. The Lantern placements for them to get aggressive, and also the Lantern placements for the teammates to escape has been impeccable so far.
Now just waiting here at the moment, 5-13, 3K gold lead now in the favor of Team Siren. maybe looking at possibly taking this top tower as pings are coming out for the defense from Slapchopachino. Nautilus, if he's able to get in range of any of these turrets, he's just going to rip through them at any point with just a couple of minions, so they kind of have to respect it every time he shows up top lane. Savage and Overlord fighting over this red buff, but it looks like they're just going to go ahead and give that up immediately. Not worth dying over, as Siren able to get some jungle pressure.
And now you can see how nasty that Nace's Q is. You can see Nautilus sitting at top lane, babysat by the Morgana, because he knows if the Nasus comes out, there's no way he can contest the lane.
I'm not a huge fan of this Gargoyle Stone Plate being finished second on the Nautilus here. I'd like to see a little bit more health maybe coming out from him. And at the moment, they're not winning any of these team fights, and it's something they kind of need to avoid. They need to just kind of look for picks on either the carries of Team Siren, or at least kill the Nasus anytime he kind of comes up near. Again, decent chunk of damage rips through that Nautilus at the moment. Savage's spell shield does go away. Does not get land there by the Cocoon, as Peanut just clearing out the waves, trying to keep this Baron Bush from spiraling out of control in 2 lanes.
And now here comes the Baron Siege, splitting the top and bottom lane, coming out from Sirens. But they do back off.
Yeah, do have to back off there. They just want to respect, maybe pick up this Drake, which I believe is now going to be a water Drake for him. So picking one up, keeping the second one away from the team Slapchopachino as they pick it up there. Now a 4K gold lead.
And the next Drake will be an Elder Drake?
No, there is still one more Drake that will come out here. Elder Drake, the timer doesn't actually, once it hits 35 minutes, then it'll start spawning the Elder Drake. So there is still one Elemental Drake still up for grabs on both sides of the teams. As we just go ahead and take a quick look, it will be another Air Drake, so this might be a nice one to try and keep Team Siren from getting, because it will allow them to help their rotations out a lot, especially with the Nasus that is going to have a little bit of a move speed here when he does have that Trinity Force as well as his finished boots. And depending on how he finishes his build path, you might even see like a ZZ Rod. It really depends on how he wants to build. Just going to go ahead and clear that mid wave out. 27 minutes coming up here. 4K gold lead still on the side of Team Sirens. As up in this top lane, you do see a little bit of a team movement coming out there. They really want to try and take down this tower. They really want Nasus to be free and try and get into other lanes. You can see the chunks that do come out though. The rest of the team does come in. Amumu just missing that bandage throw over the wall, trying to get in the back line of the team. That'd be absolutely devastating if it does land on trick shots or anyone. Savage in that right now does land the miasma and a Q, but nothing else going to come out here. They're keeping up the siege right now. Amumu on that side may be looking to try and jump on in. Hook does not land onto anyone right there. Crypan still has that Banshees available to him. Looks like Team Sirens they're looking at just maybe to back off.
With a minute and a half to the Baron respawning, the Sirens are definitely just going to try to keep the lanes pushed in, pressure onto the inhib turrets as well as the top turret. When that Baron respawns, they're going to look at taking that objective off the map.
The biggest thing for Slapchopachino right now is it does come to these fights. They need to, again, destroy this Vayne or this Cassiopeia with a Syndra ultimate right now, as there is no exhaust on the side of Team Siren, but it might not be enough, as Crying Pan had to go and he went this more defensive stat. It still does a lot of damage this build, but it's not like the pure burst build that you see with Elune's Echo. So again, just taking it to the side, that he has to look at bursting down the Vayne or the Cassiopeia. That's really the only hope they have. And even then, if it is a very, very strung out fight, Nasus will just over time keep whittling you down and start chunking your backline if it gets anywhere close to them.
Exactly. So we're not looking at a traditional tank top laner. It is a top laner that can dish out equal damage as any of the core heroes like the ADC and the mid laner.
Baron is about to spawn here. 6 seconds on the clock, but Slapchopachino, they instantly back out of that pit. You can see right now Team Sirens, they have grouped up nicely here, looking at maybe possibly a death brush. They're going to getting back out of there. Little Spiderling does see them as Scuttle Crab does come back onto the map, so maybe try and look at securing that vision and that speed shrine buff. The Slapchop now making their way toward that pit. A lot of people backing out there. They do get the Scuttle Crab for themselves. That's a very nice little movement to have for your team. Thresh looking at maybe getting some more wards in there, but he has the rest of the team to go off. Hook does not land, neither does that snare coming out from Morgana. Both teams right now, Trick Shot setting up that trap line, so it kind of forces that team to go over the blasting cone, which just got popped actually, I believe, by one of the members of Slapchopachino, so good job there. Cocoon does land, but no one's there to follow up as Crying Pan looking to clear out that wave, and both teams just kind of doing this Baron dance between mid and the pit, so they are looking at maybe starting up a fight.
And Slapchop is happy to do this dance around the mid lane. As you can see, the bot lane, the minions are already at the turret. And the top lane is actually slowly pushing out as well. So when all these lanes push out on the side lanes, they'll be looking to take the Baron.
Yeah, the biggest issue right now is they don't know where this Cassiopeia is, and I think they think she's up in this top jungle, as there's no wards that really spotted her taking that blue buff, because really, if they knew she was at that blue buff, you could have seen them burn down this Baron instantly. Was given them time, and Naxxus now can just kind of split push all he wants. He does have that TP available to him when it comes to a team fight, and I think Slapchop have to realize this. They're going to go ahead and try and push out this top lane. Crying Pan at the moment gets spotted by that blue trinket. Going to go ahead and clear it out right away.
And Nace is really now, oh no, sorry, Nautilus really needs some sort of big armor item. Looking at
Amumu down behind them though, and they're looking to pick up trick shots immediately. Not able to land the stun combo onto that Vayne. Teleport is coming out for this Nautilus right now. Actually, Naxxus, as Nautilus is going to get caught out here. Vayne is able to pick up a lot of kills, and this is the issue. They need to burn down the Vayne in order to make it happen. And right now they are looking at possibly taking this Baron. Overlords is still available for the steal if it does come up. But it'd be a it's not really one side. It's a 50-50 at the moment. It at least does have a little bit of advantage here over the wall right now. Does land
the hook comes in.
Hook. Again, a very early repel comes on out. He doesn't have a way of getting back into the bait. He actually flashes on over. Very close. Gets it down to 400 HP. But it is going to be enough as Vayne secures it. As you can see, the Amumu actually did not smite there. Could have been a very dangerous steal and almost a turnaround there coming out from Slapchop to at least keep the base alive. But at this point, it's really only going to take one more team fight for them to win. Oh, Vayne gets destroyed there by Syndra, and that's kind of what they need to do there.
The OPR button.
Yeah, the OPR button coming out big right now as Crying Pan actually is able to not pick up the scuttle, as Amumu was able to take it up with the passive W, actually active W, I believe, with that Cinder Hulk. This Crying Pan and Nautilus right now roaming into this mid lane, trying to clear it out, but it's looking a little dire here for Slapchop. They really need to figure out a team fight that will work in their favor, but as you saw there, it will take a stun at least onto Vayne to burst her down. And this Cassiopeia does have a spell shield up, so it's going to be quite hard to really catch anybody out.
But that is the comp that they drafted, right? With all these disables and CCs, they need to be able to catch someone out quickly and keep it at a 4 to 5 advantage for their team. And with that said, now that they've burnt some of that Baron timer down, hopefully they'll be able to take the game and delay the push onto their base. Sorry.
Drake fight though is on the table as Team Siren starts it up. They immediately back out though, but again, looking up this top lane right now, Naxxus is able, if all he wants, to push it in up in top lane, so they have to kind of figure out what they want to do in order to either delay it. Right now, blue turret does go down. Nautilus is still up in this top lane trying to fight. It's just not going to happen right now as he's just keeping up the pressure. Meanwhile, in the bot side, Amumu was able to get the ult. He does get taken down. A big stun does come out. Not able to blow up either the Cassiopeia or the Vayne right there. It's a double kill coming out. This is likely going to be the end of the game coming out here, as Crying Pan is able to trade 1-for-1. It is a triple kill in the end, though, for that Vayne, and it's going to be the Nexus kill coming out for Sirens as they pick up the ace in the end. This Nautilus can just tear apart through the base with those Baron minions, and Sirens now go 2-0 in their series. Surrender vote comes out as they take out the win. And with that one, I believe we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a quick break here as we get our next batch of teams readied up. Or we're going to go ahead and take a little food, drink break. When we come back, guys, we're going to have our third round of round robin action coming here from the Microsoft Store. We'll see you guys then.